Alright, let's get down to business. How exactly do we transform this mini square into a mini gaming handheld, something quite similar to the Zhubing handheld console? First, on the software side, you'll need to download the Tejima front end, along with the dedicated theme package and screen overlay for the Zhubing handheld. I'll put a link to these resources in the comments section. Thanks to my old friend at Handheld World for providing these resources. Now, as for the hardware, the simplest and easiest way is to purchase a non-FlyDiggy Wii controller. Right now, you can find a used one for just a few dozen bucks. And because this little square phone is so incredibly small, most of the standard clip-on controllers you find on the market simply can't get a proper grip on such a tiny device. And this particular controller is actually the only one I've managed to find so far that can properly grip this tiny device. However, the one drawback is that the press feel of this controller's buttons isn't particularly comfortable. Many people enjoy the Zhubing handheld because its buttons are exceptionally comfortable. However, using this one by comparison truly falls short. So I came up with another solution, discovering this acclaimed artifact in the modding world, the B-Top H2 Bluetooth mobile gaming controller, specifically designed as a clip-on accessory. I bought this controller brand new for over 200 yuan. Then, on a popular second-hand app, I found a vendor who specialized in 3D printing custom sliding rails specifically designed for this B-Top H2 handheld controller. You can find a plethora of sellers like these on those platforms, and you don't even need to provide them with a blueprint. Simply give them the dimensions of the machine you intend to clamp, and they will 3D print it and dispatch it to you by the very next day. So, the custom printed back clip cost me 40 yuan. And the grand total for this entire setup, with everything included, came out to approximately 1,400 yuan. It's actually quite expensive, but it's still much cheaper than the Zhubing handheld, which originally sold for 2,600 and is now being scalped for over 4,000 yuan. The thing is, at over 4,000 you can't even buy it. This world is absolutely insane. Connecting this controller is also pretty convenient. You just connect it once via Bluetooth and both the left and right sides are paired. This complete setup really gives off a strong mecha vibe, doesn't it? Of course, it doesn't have the same seamless integration as a dedicated handheld, but its big advantage is its detachability, letting you play with it in so many different configurations. Moreover, with this setup, by simply adjusting the gap between these two back clips, you can easily play games while it charges, effectively eliminating any battery life anxiety. By the way, its battery life is quite good because of its small screen and the 4300 mAh battery. Actually, from my experience playing on it, its battery life is much better compared to playing an emulator on a phone. Alright then, let's now jump into the Tejima front end, and enjoy playing some games. First off, let's take a look at some NDS games. You see, both the NDS and 3DS platforms natively feature dual screens that are vertically stacked. So I've stated more than once how much I absolutely detest playing games from these platforms in landscape mode on a mobile emulator. It just doesn't feel right. So this compact square handheld with its screen ratio, vertical layout and its touch-enabled lower screen is indeed quite suitable for playing games from these two platforms. Many fans say I'm terrible at games for a gaming channel host. Ugh, can I claim I'm just distracted by recording? How about we just switch to the next topic and examine the 3DS emulator instead? The theme pack that the master Dagwon-Kwan customized for the Zhubing handheld is truly excellent. Each emulator has a specific screen overlay, effectively minimizing the black borders on the screen, making the gameplay feel much more natural and immersive. And the asset images for these screen overlays are also really beautifully made. You can probably tell from the sound of the controller buttons they're very crisp. This current controller I'm holding, its feel is far superior to the one I just used. The feedback from all the micro switch buttons is genuinely incredibly solid. Because I've never touched a real Zhubing handheld, it's difficult to make a fair judgment or comparison. However, the controller I currently have in my hands feels incredibly comfortable to play with. Now, regarding its performance, as this LD_phone is equipped with a Snapdragon 765G processor, its performance is comparable to a Snapdragon 845. However, the GPU is a bit weaker than the Snapdragon 845, meaning it's not quite as powerful for gaming. So that's roughly its performance level. Most 3DS games are generally playable, but certain games that are prone to lag will indeed still experience it. Some PS2 games are playable, but it definitely won't achieve perfect compatibility with all titles. Since the Zhubing handheld is also based on this machine, they're essentially identical. Thus, I'm confident the Zhubing handheld will perform similarly when emulating these games. Therefore, I truly feel there's absolutely no need to believe that such an expensive Zhubing handheld is the ultimate emulator for every game out there. A Snapdragon 845 is far from enough, and this is just a Snapdragon 765G. Now let me take you through the screen overlays for some of these emulators. This is the PS1 screen overlay, and they really put a lot of thought into it. It's an image of a PS1 and a TV, which cleverly fills in the black bars caused by the handheld's screen aspect ratio. The game shown is Valkyrie Profile for PS1, a classic RPG masterpiece. Looking back at it now, the graphics are actually quite exquisite. However, the one minor flaw is that its game pacing is truly just too slow. But luckily, since we're using an emulator, we can adjust the game speed and fast forward. I believe playing these nostalgic old games on an emulator offers three key advantages over playing on the original hardware. First, you can enable higher resolutions. Second, you have the ability to adjust the game's speed. And third, you gain the convenience of instant save states. For adults like us, living in today's fast-paced world, choosing to revisit these nostalgic childhood games can indeed be a truly excellent option to unwind and reconnect with those cherished memories. Okay, let's go back and take another look at the complete setup of this device with the clip-on controller. So the most correct way to truly unlock the potential of this compact square handheld console is undoubtedly for playing those natively vertically oriented bullet hell style games. Of course, this specific game I've selected isn't exclusively vertical, but there are countless arcade bullet hell shooter games that are absolutely perfect for playing in this portrait orientation. Because many of those horizontal emulators, whether they are on game consoles or mobile phones, tend to display huge black borders when playing bullet hell style games. It often feels quite uncomfortable to look at. However, using this device for such games is absolutely ideal, making the experience far more enjoyable and immersive. This here is the DOS emulator. Its overlay is quite thoughtfully designed, looking like a very retro, old-fashioned computer setup. After attaching the controller, while it might not possess the aesthetic appeal or the seamless integration of a dedicated handheld console, it does offer a remarkably similar gaming experience at a much more affordable price point. It's truly about 95% close to that full experience. This is the GBA's screen overlay effect. As for the other platforms, I won't go into too much detail demonstrating them. Regarding its performance, user experience, and the feel of the buttons, I believe it's incredibly similar to the Zhubing handheld. It's essentially a budget-friendly alternative that offers a comparable experience, almost like a trial version of the Zhubing handheld itself. So when it comes to this modified handheld, compared to the Zhubing handheld, they could have simply ripped you off, but instead they actually opted to sell you a proper game console. In comparison, I believe opting for this modified small-screen square device at a more affordable price is an excellent choice. One key benefit it offers over the Zhubing handheld is its detachable design. You can easily remove it at any time, using it as a compact backup device that fits perfectly and discreetly into your pocket. After using it, I absolutely can't put it down. It feels incredible. Ever since I introduced the iPhone SE in the last video, I've honestly become completely obsessed with small-screen phones. And frankly, regarding those large, clunky, and unrefined flagship smartphones, I've honestly just lost interest in them now. That feeling of having everything right there in one hand, you know, holding it to scroll through Bilibili or TikTok, embracing a more lightweight lifestyle, I think that's actually quite a good choice too. Currently, I always carry this device in my bag because it really doesn't take up much space at all. It's just like a tiny MP4 player. I can easily hold it in my hand and just browse or play games with it anytime, anywhere. And what's even better, you can actually transform it into a Zhubing handheld gaming device. Alright, that brings us to the end of this episode. If you're interested, please hit that subscribe button.